The Super Bowl is almost here, but we're already drafting for 2026. That's what we're going to do today. Hop in to two big board drafts on Underdog Fantasy. Talk about some of our favorite players, things we're learning through our very early 2026 research process, and have some fun with some drafts, hopefully with you guys here on Spike Week. Let's do it. GM, all the typical GMs, good morning to everyone. We're going to pop into the big board here in just a second, try to hammer out a couple of drafts, but super quickly. If you did not catch yesterday's episode, it was in the afternoon a little bit, talked about a couple of offenses in particular that I am quite worried about. I'm sure they will come up today as well. I won't spoil it for you, but there's two particular offenses that I'm exceptionally worried about, more worried than the average offense. And it's very easy to get worried about lots of things, especially in February, where we don't know where a lot of players are going to be. We don't know what the impact of a lot of these coaches are, but there's two that I discussed on yesterday's show. Check that out. Of course, if you are subscribed to the channel, blah, 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 you get all, notified when we go live and all that fun stuff. You will see the new draft optimizer that we built here today on the show. The draft hacker, draft IQ might come up. We have lots of stuff, right? And our NFL best ball rankings are going to be also, of course, shown on the screen. If you want access to all of that, it's just $39.99 a month, $200 for a year, 365 days, covers every single sport, right? We got baseball out there, every site, all the tools, absolutely everything, one subscription. None of that BS of you pay this for your content, you pay this for your rankings, you pay this for DFS, you pay this for sports betting. But it's kind of crazy. As someone who has worked in the industry for a long time, we've gotten a little bit ridiculous with the upcharges and all that kind of stuff. So one subscription here at Spike Week. OTR says big fan of the new thumbnails. Thank you. We've been working on the thumbnail game. It's never going to be my specialty, that is for sure. Have worked with some talented designers over the years, but trying to continue to get a little bit better. GM. Jay Mike Check says, what's been the highlight of your week so far? That is a great question. So I was a little under the weather, so it hasn't been a super great week, and then been just a little busy with stuff in the real world, if you will. But I'm fully all the way in terms of my sports joy right now is entirely on the St. Louis Billikens basketball team. So another big win on Tuesday for them. That's my squad. I root for the St. Louis Cardinals. I root for the St. Louis Blues very heavily. You see, there's Ozzie Smith and Stanley Cup champion stuff, whatever, right? I'm a St. Louis fan. And my other St. Louis teams are terrible, but I've become an absolute. We've had season tickets to SLU. We skipped the final year of Travis Ford when they won like 7 games or something like that. We were vetoing until they fired the coach, like many others. But 6 years, 7 years, something like that. We've had season tickets to the Billikens. So my wife went to school there. My wife coached the dance team there for a while, and so gotten to know the program and the school a little bit, even though I didn't go there. And that's my thing. I'm all in St. Louis Billikens basketball right now. So another big win would be the highlight of my week. I'm old. I don't do a lot. We don't have kids. We just got the 2 dogs. I just draft best ball teams and talk about fantasy sports, watch an exorbitant amount of sports. There's awesome basketball. And so I guess I should also, the NBA trade deadline is one of my absolute favorite times on the sporting calendar. It's just total anarchy. This year has been complete anarchy. A lot of stuff that I did not see coming. A lot of the trades are some stuff that's been predicted and kind of inevitable, even if the exact specifics of a certain, overall trade are weird. This NBA trade deadline has been fucking insane. Absolutely insane. But you didn't come here to talk about that. Wrong tab here. Let's go ahead and hop on into the big board. We'll do the big board first, and if you guys want to do a little board afterwards, if that is easier for more people to get into, we can do that as well. Yeah, it's a rough time to be a St. Louis sports fan with the Cardinals in a total rebuild that's about 5 years too late. But being a fan of a rebuilding team can be a little bit fun. It can be a little bit like, I'm very excited for some of the young guys. I'm very excited to read about lots of prospects and all that. That is fun. I do enjoy that. But it's not very fun when you just know your team's going to be one of the worst teams in all of baseball, like in February. That's not very fun. St. Louis Blues have been one of the most disappointing sports fan seasons ever. So we're fully Billiken pilled and best ball pilled at this point. That's my focus, and that's generally the highlights of my week. I mentioned, we'll talk about some. You guys are getting to hear these. I don't want to be super duper repetitive with some of the different player targets, but as we go, we'll talk about some of these specific players that are targets for me in the big board. And this year is a little bit unique in that regard, where I've been I think a lesson that I've learned from the big board is so different, and we should treat it differently than, what some of these other tournaments are, because it's a unique time of year, right? And we don't worry about this free agency stuff and where are these guys going to get drafted? What round are they going to get drafted? And we know all that shit, right? In May, June, July, whatever. I was taking very, very, very big stands, which I don't think is inherently wrong, but I was not getting access to a lot of players that there was no real reason for me to not be getting access to. Nice, JSN. I haven't been very diligent about managing my portfolio very well in the big board. A little bit of it is I haven't done like a whole shit ton of big board drafts historically. This has been a little bit more of a recharge your batteries time, but I'm pretty excited about it this year. So I'm diving a little bit more all the way in. And I want to make sure, I think that the player pool of draftable players is so big in this tournament, and that's what makes it fun. But it's easy to fall into the trap of drafting a lot of the same guys over and over and over. And you'll see some of my exposures today are, I've only done 5 or 6 of these, so I'm still in the very, very early stages. But I want to be really cognizant of, like, I'm going to say this a million times over the course of the next 6 months or whatever, but I like to call our draft optimizer that you see here like the remember tool. It's like the remember, like, see, so like I don't like Devon Achane, right? I'm actually trying not to get too much of Trey McBride. But it's going to be like, remember, you said you want 6% Nico Collins. Do you have any Nico Collins? Do you have my positions? Obviously I'm not taking quarterbacks in the second round, but I haven't done much enough running back, honestly, in the second round, even though I've said that I want some of these running backs, right? My target exposure for Chase Brown is 3%, but I haven't drafted him yet. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that, but I have to take Drake London. I only have 14% Drake London. That's fine. Oh, maybe Neighbors JSN feels fairly. He's only projected at 2%, so he's only projected 2%. London's only 3% with JSN. That's what I have here on my draft hacker. The second to last number is projected ownership with the first round pick. So I think I just have to take the 2%er. We'll see if that holds true for the course of the entire contest. Neighbors, people are a little spooked by Neighbors. Thought you were a Boston guy. I'm not a Boston guy. That's Rob. Rob is a Boston guy. I think so if you want NBA podcasts to listen to, I'm sure all of you have already. It's one of the most famous, maybe the most famous basketball podcast on planet Earth. But the Zach Lowe Show, formerly the Low Post podcast, but with Zach Lowe, he put it really perfectly with the Celtics, and I hadn't totally thought about it this way, because I think trading for Nikola Vucevic is generally not ideal. Let's see what we see. Yeah, see, you said 2% Ken Walker. You don't really like him at this price, but you did say you want 2% of that guy. That's a perfect, like, remember this. It's also something. I have some wide receivers later. I'm running into this as more of a. I've been drafting more hero running back than than people would expect. Everybody just assumes zero running back at Spike Week, but that's not really true. I've been doing plenty of hero, even superhero, right, with 2 early running backs, but I still have to keep forcing myself to take even like some of these backs that I don't love at cost. I mean, Ken Walker is fine, but I'm not like in love with Ken Walker in the 3rd round. But I don't want to have 0 of that guy. And specifically, there's wide receivers later that I like a lot more than market. And I want to use those guys. If I'm right about those guys are going to be, say, I'm going to have like 25% of, let me go to like Devon Vele. I know is a boring name. I have him at 14 on here. And I have Ryan Flanoy at 25. So, I actually should probably change that target exposure on Vele because I do think I want it much, much, much higher than that. Let's just do 25 for right now. Save percentages. And so I have these late wide receivers that I really like, right? Like you guys probably know Trey here. Oh, I think it's this on there. Yeah. Right, Trey Harris. So I just put these guys at 25%. Honestly, those numbers are probably going to go up, but I have these later wide receivers that I really, really, really like, which means, hey, dum-dum, you should probably draft some early running backs, even if you don't completely love them, because you have these wide receivers that you think are just totally mispriced in your back pocket later. I'm trying to make sure to be very cognizant of that. What we got here, ADP? Scat, Swift, Judkins. Oh, I had it on running backs. All Loveland. So let's do Loveland then. Devontae, Scat, Burden, Ibuka, Swift. Hey, Eric, I've been using the overlay for a couple of years. Do I need to reinstall to get the draft optimizer button? Just update to the latest version. That may require uninstall, reinstall. You know, the browser extensions can be a little finicky at times, but you just need to have the latest version and it'll automatically give you the optimizer. Again, you'll for it to like really work and stuff, right? You're going to have to go in and set your target exposures, and there's all sorts of fun stuff that I haven't even built out yet for myself, which is one of my next projects. But just update your extension to the latest version and then go in and start playing around. I have found it to be really just the process. I definitely don't have all the answers yet for what I want like my target exposures to look like and what I want like some, right? The groups would be like if you played DFS before, you set like a group of give me at least 2 of this group, or if I play Josh Allen, give me at least 1 of his receivers, right? Or something like that, which that's not a very good rule. But you get the point. So we just built that in as well for best ball, right? Give me, if I have a certain player, give me 1 of this other player. What is this going to say? Ibuka. I'm gonna do Carnell Tate, actually. Another one that I don't love. I don't love the price on Carnell Tate. He's not even my wide receiver 1, but he's definitely going as the wide receiver 1. I guess Tyson's up here, but a lot of mocks have Carnell Tate going as high as like 4th overall, and that's one of the I don't think I agree with that. Not like I don't agree NFL teams will do it. Like I don't agree that I wouldn't take him there if I was an NFL team. Not that he's not good and all that kind of stuff. It's a fairly rich price, but again, it's another player. Like, remember, you don't want to zero that guy. You don't want to zero him. Like, you don't think he's a bad football player. You just think the price is a little bit wrong, right? That's like the Ken Walker thing. I'm not getting out over my skis on 3rd round Ken Walker, but I don't have a lot of reason to zero him out either. He's good. He's on the team that's probably going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about some of this stuff. Any plans for a show with Pat on the rookies? Yeah, we'll definitely be getting into all of that. I think we're going to try to record something that's just like a review of the season review of our best ball play, lessons learned, some takeaways from 2025 that we're thinking about for 2026. Just, let you one of those, and then we'll get into the rookie stuff. I'm not yet prepared for the 3-hour marathon discussion on rookie running backs or whatever. Not yet. We'll get there. But I imagine that's coming sooner rather than later. But yeah, are you liking the Celtics moves? I thought it was weird, but it said Zach Lowe broke it down as, so Anthony Simons was going to be gone anyway. They do need a big man. And so if you think about it, either Tatum comes back, and then, it kind of hurts to lose Simons for the short term from an offensive perspective off the bench. But if Tatum comes back, you kind of don't really need another perimeter player, right? Another scorer on offense. Yeah, this is probably a Caleb team. Let's do Caleb. You probably don't need another scorer on offense, right? You don't need another perimeter guy. You don't really need a guy taking the ball out of the hands of Jalen and Tatum and Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, whatever. But you will need another big man. And if Tatum doesn't come back, you weren't going to win the championship anyway. So who really cares, if you have Simon? So I thought that was interesting. Io is a nice pickup for the Wolves. Io is the perfect pickup for the Wolves. Io is really good. Io is like, what's an NFL comp? I can't think of a good one, but just like wildly underappreciated. Most people don't really know who Io DeSumo is. He's been around the league for a few years now, but that's a goddamn professional basketball player. You know what I mean? He is a professional guard wing basketball player, and that is exactly what Minnesota needs. Kai says, I like it for hiding things. I need to do more stuff. I need to do more stuff. Like if I draft 2 QBs before round X, don't recommend any more of them. Definitely. That's the thing. There's like so much you can do. But the process for me of I have 100% Alec Pierce with who? With JSN? Damn it. 100% Herbert with JSN, 100% Dart with JSN, 100% Pearsall with JSN. What the fuck? Whatever. I'm taking Ricky Pearsall. It is what it is. Let me see my. Oh well. Let's show my combo. Yeah. I know my. Let's just go back. Let's not overthink it. Ricky Pearsall is a good pick. Oops. Ricky Pearsall is a very, very good pick. Jeez. Seems a little harsh. Might be a homer take, but I think the Packers are the most mispriced team currently for an offense that can be a top 5. I like the Packers. Let me see. The only thing I think I disagree with on the Packers is so Josh Jake, I mean, you're just never gonna. I actually agree that the prices are pretty bad. I think I'm ahead on Kraft, right ahead or right at ADP on like all of the Packers guys. Obviously Dobbs is shown as a Packer, but he's a free agent. Malik Willis is shown as a Packer, but he's a free agent. The market is a lot more confident in Matthew Golden than I am, though I get it. He's another guy. Like I'm not going to take 0 of him, but he's not going to be a stand for me in this tournament. I think the Packers are a very solid offense to target. The Kraft injury is a little bit weird, and then Josh Jacobs' price is, as usual, too much, and I'm not that confident in Matthew Golden as a football player, so that's sort of my concerns. But I'm willing to buy Kraft. I think Jordan Love is a good pick, and then that still leaves you Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, whatever. That's funny. Is it snowing or something? It's supposed to be in the 60s early next week, so I can't wait for all this goddamn snow to melt. It's going to be wonderful. I'm sure this is going to tell me Michael Pittman. No, Blake Corum. Oh, no. Hold on. Yeah, Blake Corum. Interesting. Let's do Pittman, though. Let's just do Pittman. So we have, through 8 rounds, JSN, Neighbors, Ken Walker. So we got the little Seattle stack, obviously. JSN, I'm not that I didn't even think about it when I drafted it, but it ain't, we'll take it. Malik Neighbors, Colston Loveland, Carnell Tate, Caleb Williams, stacked with Colston Loveland, Ricky Pearsall, Michael Pittman. I like it. The game against the Bears giving you a little hope for Golden State. Golden, not the basketball team. That's funny. Not much hope for Golden State, if that. Sorry, Jason, for talking about basketball. Sub 40 in Tampa Bay. Wow. Mike Evans ain't coming back. If that's going to be the weather, jeez. Is this Kincaid? Yeah. Kincaid. Very strong at tight end. Loveland and Kincaid. Just Caleb and just Ken Walker at quarterback and running back, something we will, of course, be addressing here. Jordan Love could be a reasonable way to handle that. I've been taking a ton of Malik Willis, as you might expect, given I have him ranked 2 rounds ahead of ADP, but we got to make sure we stay on top of quarterback here for sure. And get into some of our running back bag in these rounds 10 to 15. That's crazy. That is crazy. McBride, Jefferson, Brees, Devontae, Waddle start. Is it as good as it feels? Reach for McBride at 8. I mean, I think it feels fine. Funny enough, teed me up for, again, shameless promotion of yesterday's show. The Dolphins are the number 1 offense that I am most worried about and most looking to. I wouldn't say fade, but I don't know how many Dolphins I'm going to draft. And Jalen Waddle is a guy that I'm probably not going to have much of. There's just so much systemic risk in Miami, and Jalen Waddle has never really proved to be anything super special. I don't love Trey McBride in the first round. So that's, and there ain't no bigger Trey McBride fan out there than myself. I drafted like 30% of that dude last year, and that worked out great. One of the very only things that worked out great for me last year. But first round's a little rich. But if you can get Justin Jefferson, I like Brees. I like Devontae. I don't love Waddle, but I think that that's a completely reasonable to solid start. I mean, I'm definitely going to be overweight Justin Jefferson. And maybe Brees. Devontae, probably more of an 8% guy for me. Sup, Olaf. Let's see what we got on the board here. Stafford doesn't make much sense. Dowdle, Demont, Woody. I know I'm going against but I need to move down the target number for Demont. I think I don't draft much Woody Marks. Gosh, I don't think the Darnold price makes any sense, but I do feel like it's a good fit on this team. We'll see. The QB market to me is very interesting, says OTR. QB 11 goes off in round 7. Yeah, I think the quarterback market is one that's going to be so different from the big, from these early drafts to the summer, because there's so many players with so much uncertainty right now that quarterbacks get moved up, and I think that they should. I'm ahead even still of this ADP on lots of quarterbacks. I think two things play into it. One, just the lack of stability in so many. Like there's guys going, at David Montgomery, like Rico Dowdle. What team are they even going to be on? And where are some of these rookies going to get drafted? Like there's so much instability and uncertainty around a lot of other players that the quarterbacks don't really have that, generally speaking. They still have some form of instability, but not to that level, right? Do I bite the bullet and take? Let's do Tyrone Tracy. I don't have him yet. He's an 8% guy, I think, for me. Where's he on this list? Yeah, 8%. So I'm skipping a couple of these guys, but that's fine. I don't want the tight end anyway. And so the lack of we have a lot of guys we don't really know enough about right now, so their prices can kind of get depressed. And whereas it's like, I even know Fernando Mendoza, who he's going to be playing for in his coaching situation and who he's throwing to and all that kind of stuff. So the quarterbacks get a little bit pushed up. And then for me, the quarterbacks, like basically from Malik Willis on down, with some caveats, but like from Malik Willis, Josh Allen to Malik Willis or whatever, that bucket, the top 20, whatever that is, top 20 quarterbacks or something. I want to make sure I get two of those guys. I don't want to be super, I call it like I don't want to be worrying, but I just don't really want to be in the business of praying for Mac Jones to get a job. And like, I love Trinidad Chambliss, like as a football player, but I'm not super high on him for, NFL best ball. I don't want to be like praying Marcus Mariota gets a job, and then it's a job that I care about. We talked about him in the lab last night for a good amount, and how it's like, is Marcus Mariota going to be the Jets quarterback? Are the Jets going to pony up for Malik Willis, or are the Dolphins, or whatever? Ben asks, specifically kind of segueing off of that, does Malik Willis fall or rise if he signs with Miami? I think players tend to just rise. Like on any news, it never really makes sense. Players just tend to rise. Like any news, right? Sign anywhere. And they tend to go up because, again, now we have that certainty. I know what to do with you. I feel like we have a lot of certainty on Malik Willis is going to be a starting quarterback in 2026 because, like I was saying, that there's a bunch of teams that need quarterbacks and there's not enough quarterbacks out there. And so I don't want to be fucking around in that area of the draft with quarterbacks because it's rough. It's really, really rough. And there's a whole ton of risk. I guess it's Tajay again, huh? Oops, go to my rank. I just want to make sure I can actually get them. We'll see if the room. Oh, I should have done. It's fine. He sits here and talks about not wanting to get into this gross quarterback group, and now I'm going to end up in this gross fucking quarterback group. So what happens when you stream drafts? You start talking about something and you instantly screw it up. Instantly. Who's drafting Mike Evans at this ADP in 2026? I feel sorry for you. Yeah, Evans is a weird one. I mean, he's still a good football player when he plays. It's just we don't know where he's going to play. We don't know if he's going to play. And certainly the health has been a major, major problem. I mean, for a lot of his career, I know he's had a bunch of 1,000-yard receiving seasons, but he's had plenty of injuries along the way. I'm not going to draft much Mike Evans, but also like he could just end up back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at full strength, and he's still a good football player, and he's going to score fantasy points if he plays. So it's a very difficult one. Now we'll go get Malik Willis. Can't believe we're like legitimately drafting Malik Willis in 2026. That's crazy. I agree he'll rise, which is why I want him now, and stop drafting when he starts going in round 12. He's round 13 now, so I don't really think it matters that much if he's in round 12. Like, what's the difference? Now, if he shoots up, to like, I don't know, ahead of Baker or something like that, ahead of Bo Nix or something, then, like there is Malik Willis ADP steam risk like the Justin Fields stuff. Because, I mean, even if he signs in Miami, he's going to have this locked in job, but then he could technically sign somewhere far better. And the next thing you know, we're like, see, this is what I think I said this last night. As a matter of fact, this is everything we hoped Justin Fields would be, right? The royal we, when Justin Fields was going at pick 95 or whatever. Like, I don't know. That's in the cards, I think, for Malik Willis in terms of steam. So I agree with you. I want to be out ahead of him, and you can always back if the rise doesn't happen, you can always back off later, but you can't get these picks back. Every time you don't take them at pick 155 or whatever it is, you obviously can't have that back. So I am sort of front loading my Malik Willis exposure because I expect him to rise. I'm with you. So Tank Dell, as scary as the injury looked, seems to have recovered exceptionally well. He seems like an insane value where he's going. Maybe. I'm not as into it. Let's see here. Bunch of Braylon, but I think he's the right click here. Actually, I haven't done Katron yet. Let's do Katron. Oh, God damn it. He says as he doesn't get his Q set, right? On Tank, I struggle with it because, like, we're talking about two multiple, like, very, really, really, really serious injuries. And then they brought in, right? They still have Nico. They brought in two rookies who I think can both play. He's already the archetype of wide receiver that we don't love, especially on Underdog. If he returns and he's old Tank Dell from 3 years ago, then yeah. Do I want to make that bet? Was the Texans offense one that was like really exciting to bet on anyway? I just I feel like I can get the same upside without the risk in other spots, is sort of my Tank Dell approach. Is he going to be a zero player for me? I haven't gotten that far yet, but I don't want to make him like a pillar of my drafting strategy. Those are some of the risks that I used to be like, if Tank Dell's fine and he's back, he's, remember he used to go in the third round. I'm going to draft 60% of this dude. And then, as happens with young players with very serious injuries, they're not back and they're not and they're not okay, And so I'm taking Kamani Vidal, another one of my favorite targets here. I'm not sure the Kamani Vidal fits better in the Mike McDaniel offense, but I'm interested in finding out what Mike McDaniel does with him and Hampton, and I think he's just generally a good pick overall. So this is an exaggeration. When Tank was healthy in year 2, he put up the biggest goose egg. He was not good for the price we paid. This is an important lesson that I've had to learn over and over and over. And I know it's a little bit of hyperbole in your phrasing, but when guys don't pay off the price we paid for them in our best ball drafts, we tend to double ding them and say, well, he was just awful. Well, he wasn't. He was fine for, an 8th round pick. We just steamed him up to the 3rd. That's on us, not on him. He was still playing at a totally fine NFL level. It wasn't what we were hoping for because he was this young player who popped as a rookie. We were excited, right? We're excited. We get really excited for those profiles, right? And so it's something I have to continue to remind myself. It's something I'm having to remind myself with like Brian Thomas Jr., this year. You know, it's something we have to remind ourselves where there's a difference between like, oh no, this dude is Keon Coleman bad, or this dude was like, oh man, we got out a little bit over our skis on the price we were paying for that guy, but it doesn't mean he's bad. You know what I mean? Yeah, Ladd, right? Ladd didn't just become bad. It was a very disappointing season based upon our expectations because of how good he was as a rookie, but he wasn't bad. What price do I want to pay for him this year? I still haven't ironed that one out appropriately because it's a weird profile, but I'm very excited about the Chargers, and I still definitely believe Ladd is a good football player. All right, I got to get my Flanoy shares cooking here. Flyfish loves the beat. I'm okay. BTJ is probably just going to be maybe even sub 8% guy for me. I don't know. I'm struggling with. Those are the most difficult guys to rank and to figure out what to do, because it's easy to say, well, I'll like buy the dip, the bounce back could come, but it's also easy to say, it wasn't very good last year. BTJ worse, right, than say a Ladd or whatever. But then, what about the injury? What about whatever? I don't want another one. I definitely see the bull case. That's not a 0% player to me. That's how I'm sort of thinking about it in this time of the year. It's like, okay, is this dude a 0? Is this dude a take my medicine, give me 3, 4, 5, 6%, whatever? Is this just a I feel nothing? Like, fine, give me 8. Or is this guy a stand? And he's definitely not a stand for me, but he's also not a 0. And so just figuring out where they fit, there's sort of like 5 levels, right? Like, this dude's a stand. I'm a little bit above, I'm right at, I'm a little bit under, or he's 0, right? And figuring out where you fit amongst those 5 things, once you quickly decide, okay, he's not a 0, but he's also not a stand, then it's just like, okay, am I taking 3% or 10%? And that's been another big lesson for me, is figuring, like, there's a difference between all of those, like, sort of levels of how you treat that player. And I've been really bad at figuring out where they fit. Tesla, nice. Can't believe I'm saying that. Isaac Tesla fell 2 rounds after ADP. Sick. Ryan Flanoy in round 16 is aggressive, to say the least. I mean, I have him ranked ahead of round 16, so he's really good. He's going to be one of my highest owned players in the big board. The Dallas Cowboys called him, PFF called him the Dallas Cowboys secret superstar. And I mean, what more can you ask for? Late round wide receiver in the big board is rough. So Jacoby Lane goes. When is Jacoby Lane going to get drafted? Is he actually good? Is he going to land in a spot that we care about? Right? Keon, we're betting on Keon Coleman again. I like Toy Horton fine, right? But like Troy Franklin had a couple good games and then mostly got benched for the Denver Broncos, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Calvin Ridley broke his leg and was bad for the Titans, et cetera, et cetera. With Flanoy, he was legitimately good this year. He's still fairly young. He did it. He had big games, good games, alongside CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Jalen Tolbert is not a thing anymore, and Kevontae Tarbin is just a little gadget return man, type guy. He took the wide receiver 3 job halfway through last year, took it, ran with it. It was his, and he was good when he did it. And now George Pickens is not a lock to be back on this football team. It is possible he moves up a rung, and when he moved up a rung last year, you got like 100 yards and a touchdown out of this guy. He feels like I don't really see, like, there's never any late round guy that's like a lock to smash, but there's very few late round guys like him that are just like almost for sure to be fine. There's not a lot of paths that he's awful for you. Gosh dang it. Let's do Emmanuel Wilson because I have not done him, and I keep taking the same late running backs. Ray Davis being one of them. He's good. Flanoy is good. If you're feeling change on a player changes, you just adjust how much you're taking. So like, oh, I'm lower now and I already have 6%, so I'll take less for a few days. Yeah, if I'm lower now, and so let's say your target was 8, and your original target was 8. So here's the first thing. You should be fluid in your player takes. You don't know everything on February 5th that you're going to know later, whether that be you're just like researching the player and you've sort of changed it based upon just you looking into this a little bit more, or something happens. Free agency is going to happen. The combine is going to happen. The draft is, of course, going to happen. That won't be so much for this. But a lot of stuff's going to happen. So your player takes should be fluid. If anyone shows up and tells you, like, I got all the answers, I'm not changing shit. I know this guy is good. I know this guy is bad. I know, whatever. Like, they're just wrong. There is no one in February that has all of the answers to the 2026 fantasy football season. Like, come on. That doesn't make any sense. And so I know you're not saying that. And so you should be fluid with your player takes. But then it's the massaging, right? Like you said, after the fact of, okay, I thought I wanted 8% of this guy. I'm at 6. I think I probably just pumped the brakes for a few days, right? And instead of like taking less. Every time you take a guy, that's like, depending upon how many drafts you've done. Like, I haven't done that many drafts. So every time I take a dude, it's adding 10, 15% to my, to my exposure. Now, if you're 100 drafts deep, that's a little bit different. But I tend to just hit the brakes for a few days. It also allows you to like sort of reassess a little bit. Sure, Mac Hollins. There's another guy that's not like going to ever be a tournament winner in this format. Now, Flanoy could be a tournament winner, but just locked in. I have a role. It was a fairly decent fantasy role for a good chunk of this season, until he got hurt, until he got placed on IR at the end of the year. It's actually a fairly decent. He's under contract for next season. Mac Hollins is. He's actually sort of gotten better over the last couple of years, which is crazy. Just don't take like, advice on managing the cold and walking shoeless and all that kind of stuff. Grounding with the earth. Mike Washington Jr. thoughts. I'm still working through some of the. I shouldn't call him a deeper running back. I know he looked good at the. I know people from the Senior Bowl are liking him. On one hand, didn't do much before this year. Is a little bit older. Come on. Okay, well, we'll wait for that to load, I guess. Is a little bit older, but also is definitely athletic and was really productive on a pretty shit team. But that also is a little bit fluky. The Arkansas offense was not shit. The Arkansas defense was shit. And so I go back and forth on him a little bit. I don't think he's like super special, but I'm intrigued by the sort of production profile plus the athleticism, size, all that kind of stuff. He definitely pops a little bit when you watch him. See, this is what I don't want to be in these waters. But I'll take Wicks though. I don't have Wicks yet. That seems foolish given what I just discussed about Matthew Golden. Obviously, I have Ken Walker, so I feel pretty good about this running back room with 7. Ken Walker, Woody Marks. I think you could certainly do a third quarterback here. I just backed myself into a bad corner. I would have considered a third quarterback here. I like the 2 tight ends with Loveland and Kincaid, but I backed myself into a bit of a corner in the quarterback market and kind of screwed it up. I think you can definitely take 3 here, something I'm being more open to this year, not forcing, et cetera, et cetera. But Ken Walker, Woody Marks, Tyrone Tracy, Tyjae Spears, Braylon Allen, Kamani Vidal, and Emmanuel Wilson seems like a fine 7 running back room to me. And the receiver room is really strong, but like with the Mac thing, with the Flanoy thing, with Dontavian Wicks, when you have this is sort of how I will like to blend some of my rooms. Like Tesla and Flanoy are a little bit speculative. I feel a little bit more confident in Flanoy, like as a football player. I can't believe this is still loading. What the hell is going on here? Let's go to Arkansas. But when you draft, I guess the site is just not loading. Okay, we'll try again later. When you get right, so Malik Neighbors, is Malik Neighbors going to start the season? I can't say that for sure. Ricky Pearsall is certainly a walking injury risk. You take a rookie at pick 54, and then you take a little bit of some speculative guys. I think these sort of chaperone-ish type dudes are pretty good picks on this team. So I'm cool with this team. Let's see. Let's just do the big board again, if that's okay with everybody. I'm just really looking for confirmation bias. I'm Mike Washington pilled to the max, he says. Savion year 2 breakout. Yeah, no thank you. What do we say? Flanoy equals Jordan Whittington? Absolutely. So I mean, we if we want to do it, let's do it. So here, let's look at these 2 players. Here's Ryan Flanoy. Here's Jordan Whittington. Whittington was never good. Okay. And this is from someone who drafted Jordan Whittington this past season. We can even look at the college stuff. But here's Jordan Whittington's NFL production. In 2024, you were like, oh, cool. Well, he ran 135 routes, and he was fairly productive on those routes. But then this season, absolutely zero production, because in college, he was absolutely awful. 2023. Let's go to receiving. Here's 1.5 yards per run, 1.5 yards per run. Oh, congrats. 2.3, 2.1, 1.7. Career 1.74 yards per run. Spoiler alert. That's bad. That's very bad. That was him in college. Meanwhile, this year for Ryan Flanoy, I also do like to look at some of the game-by-game stuff. I mentioned the 100-yard and touchdown game here. 3.1 yards per route run in that game against the Lions. 13 targets. So he's earning targets. He's earning essentially a full-time role. And he ends, so I should say, 1.7 yards per route run in college is bad. 1.74 yards per route run for a second-year NFL wide receiver who is part-time to start the year is actually pretty good. If you would like to if you'd like me to pull up the list of all the yards per route run players in the NFL this year amongst wide receivers, I'm more than happy to do that. But in college, Ryan Flanoy, 2.67 yards per route run in his career, 2.64 and 2.69. Now, it was at SEMO, but he balled out at SEMO. Then he pops up with the Dallas Cowboys and produces and earns more of a real role. They are the third most over the cap team in the entire NFL. So they don't have a lot of paths to, we'll take JT here. Look at this. It's forcing me into a running back start. I'm in case you hadn't noticed, I am, and I promise it's not because he went to a school in Missouri. I have no ties to SEMO. I don't give a shit about SEMO, even though I know a lot of people that went to SEMO. I'm very adamant. Ryan Flanoy is one of the people that I feel strongest about as just a straight up good click. Let's see. RB 6-7 in this class is like early day 3. Yeah, I think that sounds right. Best year in the SEC on a garbage team, late bloomer. Yeah, the late bloomer thing is generally more of a bug than a feature. If you're older than all of your opponents, you should be producing. He's going to now move to the NFL and not be older and not be bigger and faster and stronger and all that. I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm not saying, but when we like, it's so easy to spin things to make it sound good for prospects, and I will be doing it. I can guarantee. Oh wow, McBride falls. I guess this seems like a good time to get McBride. I guess JT falls, McBride falls. Let's do it. Again, two guys who I'm not like super duper excited for in the big board at cost. I mean, I'm super excited for Jonathan Taylor and Trey McBride. They're two of the best players in the NFL, but I'm not like super duper excited for them. But I don't have a lot of reason to not take them at those spots. All the receivers are off the board before JT. I like JT better than CMC and Cook and Genty. And McBride, I could take London, but I'm going to have a million opportunities to take London. I'm not going to have a million opportunities to honestly to get Jonathan Taylor and Trey McBride on the same team. This is funny. This is a legitimately good question that is hilarious that it is coming up, right? OTR says, I think we can all say Rashee Rice has lost this money, but he's a buy at ADP, assuming he's not in jail, right? Maybe, probably. Mahomes going to miss part of the season. I think he's probably a buy. Yeah. But as long as he's not in jail, as long as he's not screwing up again, and as long as Mahomes comes back fine sooner rather than later. So there's a few different little red flags, I think, for him at his price. Big guy who can catch is why a bunch of us took Woody Marks. I saw he weighed 220, but didn't see him trucking DB. It's just me. Wish casting power. That's fine. We play this game with Dallas wide receiver 3 every year. If he come back the same way, I suppose you'll get some. But that's not true. The other Dallas wide receivers that we have drafted or what have you. Should we do Josh Allen? Just go straight 0 wide receiver team. Let's do it. JT, Trey McBride, Josh Allen. I like it. But you can't just say, oh, Dallas wide receiver 3 never works. Every year is its own little puzzle to put together. Dallas wide receiver 3 never worked because those other guys sucked. Because we were wish casting Jalen Tolbert. Right? And Michael Gallup actually kind of works. Granted, that was weird. That was during the Amari CD days, right? This is new. This was the first year George Pickens has been on the Cowboys. How can we say we're doing like George Pickens had one season on the Dallas Cowboys? 2 years ago, wide receiver 3 on the Cowboys is not the same puzzle that we're trying to solve right now. Plus, George Pickens is not a lock to be back on the Cowboys. The Cowboys are $40 million over the salary cap. Doesn't mean they can't retain George Pickens, but it means they have to start making some hard fucking decisions like they did with Micah Parsons, right? And so when you get a good young football player, he's on this team, he showed that he's good, he's popped for big games. He actually did the thing, right? We've been looking for wide receiver 3 on the Cowboys every year. Well, if you drafted Ryan Flanoy to be the wide receiver 3 last year, you were right. It wasn't we keep missing on this thing. You were right. It's just if you drafted Jalen Tolbert and whoever the fuck else that they had competing for the wide receiver 3 job. Yeah, sure. You just drafted the wrong guy. Yeah, I don't think Rashee is going to get suspended. Now we're talking. I've been fading Rashee so far and doubling down with some round 20 Royals. Now we're talking. Jalen Royals in his one touch or whatever it was on the season. What a bummer. Guess we got to do we're just ADP. We are scooping value. This is straight. I'm going to change the title of the show to arguing about Ryan Flanoy and scooping ADP value. Maybe I will do that actually. JT, Trey McBride, Josh Allen, Garrett Wilson. That's fun. That is fun. Is Flanoy? They're not this. This is like comparing Mac Hollins and Pop Douglas, but that's not even a very good comp. Flanoy is a traditional, generally boundary wide receiver, and Kevontae Turpin is like 160 pounds. He's a gadget player. He's not a real. He's going to play, right? They'll throw him the ball a couple times, maybe hand him the ball, right? Kevontae Turpin's like always going to get on the field and play, but he's straight gadget. Ryan Flanoy is a real wide receiver. Right? He's a real boy, and Kevontae Turpin is Pinocchio. I guess technically Pinocchio, pre-early Pinocchio. Now we're talking. There is nothing better than February 5th fantasy football drafting and debating the third year. What was he, a 7th round pick from the Dallas Cowboys, wide receiver from Southeast Missouri State? What better hobby is there than these conversations? In your drafts, though, is your late round click ever Turpin again? I don't think so. Not right now, at least. There's too many. We talked about it earlier about like the player pool is so big. There's so many draftable players that you can speculate on. It's possible that this like sort of gadgety guy who, he can score an 80. He scored an 80-yard touchdown in week 17 or whatever. These sort of gadgety guys are. I don't have Rome yet. Let's do Rome. In round 20 in July, when a lot of these guys have washed away, right? There's guys getting drafted probably reasonably early that we're going to look back on like, why the hell did I take that guy? He's a 0. And then, there's infinite amounts of late guys. There's rookies, there's free agents, there's guys that are going to retire. Like, there's a bunch of guys that are going to wash away that are getting picked in every single draft. Once those guys get removed from the player pool, and it's not that they're bad picks, it's just that that's what happens when you draft in February, right? Those guys wash away, and maybe the Turpin types will come into play, maybe, but not right now for me. Yes, Jason, we're talking. Now we're talking. I agree. Devon Bailey is the starting wide receiver 2 for the New Orleans Saints. You know who has even less cap room, who is more over the cap than the Dallas Cowboys? The New Orleans Saints. They have no paths to really upgrading the weaponry. And even if they do, Bailey is going to play. I understand. He's boring, all that jazz. What does it say here? DeAndre Swift. No, I know I'm overwriting. But I think Marv is a good pick on this team. I'm obviously a little light at wide receiver. And so getting, like the Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, like, I'm not saying they're both still good, but I'm saying these guys end up being just who we thought they were, but I got a discount on them. I think old me would have just started jamming all the rookies onto this team. And I don't think that jamming some rookies onto this team is bad. I probably should jam at least some rookies onto this team. But old me would say, I just think you can accomplish the same goal that you're trying to accomplish with Carnell Tate, with a Marvin Harrison, a Rome Odunze, and a Garrett Wilson, with also probably a higher floor. Maybe that's foolish, but that's how I'm thinking about it. I want to kind of like can I get Lemon and Marv, or right, Garrett Wilson and Jordan Tyson, or whatever, like combo, or of course some later, where Denzel Boston. I can draft Bryce Lance in the last round or whatever, Let's see. This team needs Jonah Coleman. So here's one other thing I will say. Ben says I've drafted Illinois and will do so, but will likely only be stacked as a Cowboys bet. I actually have more pushback on doing that than I do on whether or not to draft Ryan Flanoy. If you don't believe in Ryan Flanoy, dude, this isn't like I'm not proclaiming him the next superstar NFL wide receiver. I just think he's a good best ball click right now. But if you think players are good enough to be drafted, you should not automatically only put them on teams with a certain subset of individual other players. And I understand the correlation element. I'm not saying don't draft them on Cowboy stacks. I'm saying if you think he's a good enough click that he's worth it at all, only putting him on teams that if you're wrong and he was not a good click, now he's dragging down your Cowboy stacks. Or you're right and he was a good click. Pardon. I think Alec Pierce is probably the correct one on this team. Though I would really like to take Herbert, but I'm gonna take Alec Pierce. I know Herbert put Josh Allen is crazy, but we do some crazy things in the big board. But right, you were right. Flanoy was a bad pick. Well, now he's dragging down Cowboys teams. Or you were right, Flanoy is a good click, but the Cowboys just aren't the stack that you needed, right? Dak wasn't the quarterback, or CeeDee wasn't the right first-round pick, or Pickens wasn't the right second-round pick, whatever. Now you just eliminated Flanoy from being on Justin Jefferson and Ashton Genty teams or whatever. I'm just making shit up. But like, don't restrict it if you assume. Now, there can be guys that you're like, I want like 1% of them and I'm going to stack them with Dak and that's it. And that's possible. But I just want to make sure that sort of logic is something I think a lot of people fall into. Like, well, I only draft that guy on stacks. It's like when you start to walk through, like take a bunch of steps back and think about what that means for your portfolio, I think you'll quickly be like, actually, I don't think that that's a great thing, because it's not just about that individual player. It's not just about like him winning alongside Dak. There's a lot of levels to it. And I don't want that hole in my portfolio. That's a risk. That's a portfolio risk that you don't realize you're taking on because of the significant amount that there's right. Either the Cowboys are dragging down Flanoy or Flanoy is dragging down your Cowboys stacks at a disproportionate level to what they really should be. Oh shit. Talking and not paying. Oh no, Jacoby Myers. Okay. It's, hey, look, the draft optimizer said, remember, you said you didn't want to have 0 Jacoby Myers. I think you're supposed to take him. That's fucking painful. Thoughts on the ETN situation? Also, I know I've said this a bunch of times, but every time I or anyone says the name Travis Etienne, my wife gets a little bit triggered because how you would actually pronounce it, it's Etienne. So if I ever make a stupid joke or whatever about that. But thoughts on the ETN situation? I actually would be a little surprised if they brought him back. I think ETN might be one of the most overdrafted players on the board. What is he going at? Pick 30. Where's ETN? 38. No offense, Sweet Leaf. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to call you out. Pick 30. He wasn't that great. He scored fantasy points, but he wasn't that great for the Jaguars. They have Tootin and LaQuint Allen and some assets to upgrade if they really want to. Are they going to pay? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me for them to pay ETN what he's assuredly wanting. Now, that doesn't mean he won't like go to the market and not find what he likes, right? They don't have the tomatoes at the market that he likes. If no one's willing to pay him, maybe he comes back on a team-friendly deal with the Jaguars. I would be surprised. But we'll see. But I think everyone's just assuming ETN is just right back on the Jaguars. That's why he's going at pick 38 or whatever. And I don't think that's a safe bet. And even if it does happen, what did you really win? Like, he's splitting with Tootin when Tootin was healthy. Just give me Tootin. Tootin has the path to ETN's actually gone. Tootin is a smash, or he's a good pick even if ETN's back. So just give me that guy. Rico Dowdle. What a joke. Maybe I should have taken Shakir to stack with Allen. We'll see. We shall find out. I see Biff Tannen in this draft, the winner of the Spike Week Royal Rumble pool. Shout out to Rob for putting that together. That was a lot of fun. No, well, it wasn't fun for me. I drew number 4, and my chances to win were over before that shit started. Appreciate your tournament approach takes us Peanut Punch. That's a great name. I enjoy that name, but thank you for the feedback. I had a good amount of ETN last year, but hate his price despite his production. I kind of thought Tootin showed enough and year 2 growth. Rather bet on Tootin. Agree. Totally agree. I think ETN's like the opposite of the Tank Dell conversation we were having or BTJ conversation we were having. Interestingly, more Jaguars. ETN was a great click last year. If you just said, I'm going to trust the old veteran in this backfield, old veteran, like he's old. I mean, he's obviously not truly old. Pardon. Oh, sure. Khalil Shakir. Why not? If you just said, I'm going to trust that guy, former first-round pick, talented enough. I don't think Etienne is a difference-making talent, but certainly talented enough and can hold down the passing game and the high-value touches and all that kind of stuff. The Jaguars were also Pat's our number 1 best ball stack last year. The number 1. Now it turned out in a weird way where Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington became the winners, but they were still a great stack nonetheless, and I think that ended up being correct. But now we're paying heftier prices specifically for Travis Etienne, and again, he is not a lock to be on the Jaguars. I think it's less than 50-50. I think it's more likely he's not a Jaguar than it is he is a Jaguar, and so with that level of risk, so if it's less likely he's a Jaguar, that's pretty good for Tootin. If you like LaQuint Allen, I think that's perfectly fine for LaQuint Allen. I think if I was the Jaguars, I would take whatever money I was thinking about giving to Travis Etienne, I would give it to an offensive lineman or a defender or something to improve my roster much more and let Tootin be the runner. And it's not that Tootin can't play in the passing game, but LaQuint is a very good pass game player and a good pass protector. Let those two, and draft another guy. Keep drafting the cheap running backs and then don't pay them and just keep cycling through those guys. Or if there needs to be another veteran or whatever, sure, go for it. But I don't really see the reason to pay Travis Etienne probably what he wants if I'm the Jaguars. Reports coming out today that Rico will be open to coming back to Dallas. Yeah, it's funny you say that. That's part of the reason why I think the Rico Dowdle price is ridiculous. And again, I'm never sure if the market knows who is and isn't a free agent. Rico Dowdle is a free agent. He's going at pick 100. I guess people are just assuming he's going to land somewhere good because that's a pretty hefty price that I just literally paid. But part of why I'm not going to have much Rico Dowdle. But part of why I'm not going to have 0 is it would make some sense to try to go back to Dallas. But the market also thinks Javonte is going back to Dallas. So it's a very weird situation. How about, I haven't done enough Mendoza. Let's do Mendoza. So we went JT, McBride, Josh Allen. So no wide receivers through 3 rounds. People should be proud. Clap now. Garrett Wilson, Rome Odunze, Marvin Harrison, Alec Pierce, Jacoby Myers, Rico Dowdle, Khalil Shakir, and Fernando Mendoza. So obviously going to hit some running backs, another tight end, and probably 2-8-8. This is I love the 20-round drafts. I love the big board, so I can just draft this perfectly symmetrical 2-8-8-2 structure. It's just the best. Rico wants a bag, and I doubt Dallas gives it to him. Rico can want anything he wants. Dallas ain't giving it to him, but nobody is giving Rico Dowdle the bag. So if that's what he wants, I mean, I would love to win the lottery. But I'm more likely to get struck by lightning than I am to win said lottery. Yes to Emmett Johnson. I know people are touting the Mike Washingtons and stuff of the world. I'm a huge Emmett Johnson fan. Shout out to Jim in the Discord, a Nebraska fan. But Emmett is my kind of running back who can just absolutely do it all. I'm not saying some of these other guys can't, but I'm awesome passing game player. I think he's going to be able to come in and pass protect. He can definitely catch the ball out of the backfield. And when you completely dominate a backfield like he did, and again, people are talking about, Arkansas was bad and like a Mike Washington produced. Nebraska is awful. Baby Mahomes is awful. Horrible. And so hopefully the year off playing behind Dante Moore will get him to be good for Oregon, but it doesn't look very good right now. Granted, it didn't look good for Dante Moore early either. Emmett Johnson carried that Nebraska team. The reason they were competent was because of him on offense. And we've seen that work quite often, right? Like Ray Davis is good. Ray Davis did that in college. Kyle Monangai is pretty good. Kyle Monangai did that in college. So I'm not saying that Emmett Johnson is specifically those guys, but a lot of the times there's a little bit of bull signal in just being able to basically put a team on your back and carry them in right. You have to be able to do all the stuff, catch the ball, pass protect. It can't just be running unless you're Derek fucking Henry or something. But if you can do that, right? Genty did it. Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, right? Those guys just put a team on their back. It's important to me, even if it's a bad team. Maybe even more so if it's a bad team. So I will not ever argue with the Cowboys fan that Jerry sucks and Jerry isn't cheap, but it's not that he's cheap. There is a salary cap in the NFL, and they're over it. So if Javonte wants to get paid, as I think he probably should, look, I can't stop drafting Tyjae Spears. I'm sorry. People talk about like these prices that are wrong. What are we doing? Tony Pollard could get cut. Tyjae Spears could be the starting running back for the Tennessee Titans. He's definitely going to be back. We should be much more excited about the Titans this year than in previous years. They're definitely going to upgrade the offense. He's one of the most elusive backs in the entire NFL last year. Tyjae Spears was. He's really good. He's a legitimately really good football player who can play in the passing game on an offense that I think should get better. Certainly the coaching is getting better. They should be upgrading the talent. Tony Pollard may not even be a Titan next year. This is just not true. Ray Davis definitely does not stink. He wouldn't. So this is an important distinction, actually. He doesn't lose work to Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson is arguably the best pass protecting running back in the entire NFL. So the Bills use him accordingly. When James Cook gets hurt, Ray Davis fills that James Cook role. But when Ty Johnson gets hurt, Ray Davis fills that Ty Johnson role. Ray Davis can kind of do it all. It's just James Cook is a super special runner and Ty Johnson is a super special pass protector. Ray Davis is really good. He's in this weird situation behind those two guys, but he has the double contingent value stuff going for him. This is a hell of a fall on Sadiq. Ryan Flanoy, Ray Davis, and scooping ADP value. That's what we're doing today. He has knees. He does not have cartilage. And I'm not betting on Tyjae Spears in fucking Dynasty. I'm not betting that he's going to be walking very well when he's older. But I'm worried about one season, and I don't even need 17 good games. Not at this price. Just give me a handful of them. like he does every fucking year because he's good at football. Sign me up. Tez Johnson and Mechie are so cheap. What's Tez's path, especially in half PPR? So these players are for sure back with the Bucs. Ibuka, Godwin, Jalen McMillan. Cade Otton is a free agent. Mike Evans is a free agent. But even if Evans leaves, Tez is at best wide receiver 4. He's also slot only, right? He's small. I think Tez is a fine real life football player. But like the wide receiver 4 at best could be wide receiver 5 if Mike Evans comes back. At best, wide receiver 4, who's a 5 foot, 5 foot nothing, 160-pound slot receiver, is a tough bet for me, especially on Underdog, but really in general. And Mechie, is he a free agent? He's on the Jets, or was. Garrett Wilson's going to be back. Mechie was bad. Mechie has been bad for several years now. I just would rather take bigger swings. They're definitely cheap, and I will not argue with them in the we're definitely making this the Flournoy draft show. I will not argue with just about anyone like with a pulse in the last rounds of the big board, because we can speculate on just about anybody, but they're not near the top of my personal priority list, an ever evolving priority list, but they're not there right now. You'll never win the lottery with that attitude. That's true. You got to buy a lottery ticket to win the lottery. So every time I think about buying a lottery ticket, I just draft a best ball team. Either way, I might as well wipe my ass with that $10 or $20 most of the time. But at least I get I get the enjoyment out of the best ball drafts. I don't get any enjoyment. I literally went to the gas station yesterday and waiting behind, the people that do their 47 million, quick pick this and Mega Millions this, and I none of that. It's not my area of expertise. And you're just sitting there behind them and like, do they get joy out of that? Like, I'm getting joy out of drafting this team, talking to you guys, talking about Ryan Flournoy too much. Like, that's fun. Just walk up and you like pick up some numbers, and then you wait for, I guess, do you still watch the news to learn the lottery, or is it online? Or like what joy does that bring? So, I'm sorry if there's a lottery ticket bro in the chat, but like I'm going to take Vele. Someone explain to me the lottery ticket thing, because I don't have whatever hobbies you want, but they should bring you some form of joy, and I struggle to see where the joy is in that particular hobby. What if you stack Tez with Tank Dell? You mean like literally put them on top of each other's shoulders? Then congratulations, you got Mike Evans. If you stack Tez with Tank Dell, but literally on each other's shoulders, that's how you would do it. Let's see. How do you think the 3 Bucs running backs will play out this offseason? Sean Tucker is a restricted free agent, not exclusive rights. I think restricted free agent, and I said Sean Tucker, right? Sean Tucker, I believe, is a restricted free agent, and Rachaad White is a free agent. I don't know that if they want Rachaad White back on a very cheap deal, I would imagine that will be possible. But my expectation is I don't see why they would really want to bring Rachaad White back, other than they just really want that pass protection and the receiving game stuff. But I feel like they should use that money that they might give to him. Again, a lot of my thesis for the running back stuff is if you need to save money, there's not a lot of necessity in paying even like $3 million for a running back when you can just draft one in the middle rounds and pay in the league minimum. Now that, again, they're a little bit unique because Bucky's very small and not a good pass protector, so they do need that. But Sean Tucker did it in college. Do they trust them to do it like they trusted Rachaad White? I don't know. We'll see. But my best bet would be Bucky Tucker plus a new guy and Rachaad White elsewhere. Rachaad White feels like a Chief or something. You know what I mean? Chiefs like draft a guy and then Rachaad White is their new passing down player. which maybe we should be drafting fucking Rachaad White then. But that feels like the new but past game version of Kareem Hunt. The P Ryan, the Hunt, the whatever, the CEH. Obviously doesn't have the juice of Jerick McKinnon, but that would be the role. This is fair. You can dream about all the dumb shit you would do in the island you would buy with the lottery money. That is fair. That makes sense to me. Anything that puts you, that's like a mental health hack, right? I guess then you lose and maybe it kind of offsets the mental health boost that you got. But sitting there and being able to think about like these really positive, life-changing things, that's good. That's a net positive. Oh yeah, we're in running back mode. Yeah, somebody mentioned Keaton. I'm glad somebody said Keaton earlier because I need to get my Keaton up. Also a free agent. I need to get my Keaton exposure up. And I like him on this team. During the preseason, I joked that every time I drafted Caleb Johnson, I got Benny Snell flashbacks. I'd like to publicly apologize to Benny Snell. Yeah, I'm gonna draft some Caleb Johnson though. Not much, just a little bit. He's in my late round running back mix stuff. Kenny Gainwell is a free agent, new regime and everything like that coming in. I think the kiss of death from Caleb Johnson was when Aaron Rodgers came in, not when that was about it. When you have Gainwell and Warren, these like sturdy, veteran, trustworthy guys with an Aaron Rodgers, there was just any mistake Caleb Johnson made, he was cooked. And he needs development time, right? When you come from Iowa, you generally do. They don't ask you to do all the stuff, not at the NFL level. And so I'm willing to I'm not like a big one. I'm not giving him a pass for the bad year, and I'm not saying like I'm shoving all my chips in, but I am saying I'm still open to some Caleb this year. Let's do Tank. I thought Tank looked pretty good this year. Get a little bit of Tank. Adam Randall. Jeez. There's LeQuint. I need to get some Isaiah Davis. I need to get some Jalen Wright. Kendre. Jaden Odd. Taj. I need to get a little Taj. I've drafted Taj already. Malik Davis, trying to get me a little bit of Malik Davis. Yeah, Tank was a beast last year, says Saber. Yeah, he was good. He was legit good. I think Tank's another just like solid football player. Flawed. I think sometimes that's the difficult part in like player evaluation. It's easy to fixate on flaws. Like when you're really good at something, which I think Tank is really good at, like just a general runner. He's elusive. He's powerful. I thought he at times looked better than Saquon as a runner last year in a pretty shitty Eagles run game. But, he's flawed. He can't really catch. Probably not a big pass protector. He's a little Rojo-ish or something like that. Clearly has a talent at something, but has flaws at other things. So what does that make you? Good, bad, mediocre, below average? Like when you have this strength and this weakness, how do you evaluate that player? It's a little tricky. This is a good point. It's an unfair comp because you can really boost your struck by lightning odds if you do something or act a certain way during it. That's a good point. It's a collusion. It's like those damn DraftKings drafters colluding to get struck by lightning. Thoughts on the Packers offense as a whole? Even though they are a good in practicality, lack of volume for anyone has been a continuing trend under a floor. Yeah, you nailed it. That's the concern. Now, part of that has been a depth of wide receivers and frankly a depth of a bunch of guys who are not super special. Then Tucker Kraft emerged and Christian Watson emerged. So I think, Romeo Doubs is just Romeo Doubs. I don't know how to say it any day. He is a professional wide receiver and one of the most unspectacular professional wide receivers you can ever get. So, he's never going to consolidate targets. Let's do Isaiah Davis. I'm trying to get a sprinkle of him. Obviously, the bet being Brees doesn't come back and they don't add anything super crazy at running back. Is that a good bet? That remains to be seen. But the market is definitely not into Braylon and Isaiah Davis. And Braylon missed really the whole season. Is he even better than Isaiah Davis? I don't know. Anyway, the Packers, I think, have a better chance. Now, they're never going to be the Rams or the Seahawks or whatever, where we're just force feeding because they don't have that guy. They don't have Puka. They don't have JSN. They don't have Devontae. They don't have old Cooper Kupp. The Rams version, not Seattle version. But I think Christian Watson has elevated to a level that's important, and we've removed Dobbs, and I think Tucker Kraft is elevated to a level. So I think the offense is going to continue to be good. I hate the way they play so non-aggressive until maybe they're absolutely forced to. That's honestly my biggest concern now. I'm with you that historically it has been pretty rough. Pardon. How about LeQuint? How about a LeQuint share? Sure, why not? ETN leaves, LeQuint and Tootin take the backfield. I like it. My 2882 team. But that my concern with the Packers is a little bit more of, did you finally learn your lesson yet? Jordan Love is good. Your offense is good, but we can't go into a fucking shell every time we get a 7-point lead or a 10-point lead or whatever. Or we can't stay in the shell until, oh, shucks, now we're down by 13, and that's what LaFleur has done. That it's concerning, Joe Brady's everyone eats a person kind of flies. But like I said, I draft, but he's not. Why is he not a great running back? What is there? I mean, he's definitely a good football player. Ray Davis is. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it some more if you would like, but he seems pretty solid to me. Did I do receiving? That was very stupid. What do we have? 178 carries for 753 yards in 2 seasons. Can do it all. Can catch the rock. Can pass protect. Heading into year 3, was a workhorse in college when called upon this season. I know it's the Jets, but we don't get to cherry pick. 21 carries, right, when called upon, which wasn't often because he's a backup. 9 carries for 62 yards against the Steelers. 21 carries for 100. So those were 30 carries when he was actually called upon to do something. 9 for 24 in week 2, not as good. So let's call it 40 carries across those 3 games when he was actually called upon to do something. A little bit of garbage time, which is actually more difficult to run efficiently. Averaging 6 yards a carry while being efficient as a wide receiver. I don't know. He seems pretty good. Take out, but you can't do that's not fair. You can't take out if you're going to pick and choose which weeks matter. I can do the same shit. Well, let's just take out Derrick Henry's week 17. Right? You can't take out week 18. Josh Allen wasn't playing. Why does that game not count? I don't understand why he averaged 2.7 yards in games he got carries. Not good. That's not true. That's not true. Yeah. I think this is it. I think James Cook. But It's just not true. You can't take out games that you pick and choose don't matter. That's not fair. That's not how math works. That's not right. It's like, oh, well, doesn't count because that game didn't matter. It's like he did that with a horrible surrounding cast. So if it didn't matter, it also didn't matter to his own team, correct? That's why they played Mitch Trubisky. So he's doing, and they carved up the Jets. Now, the argument you should make is that, well, he did it against a bad team, but he also did it against the Steelers when he averaged 7 yards per carry in that game too. I don't get the he's not good argument at all. I get for sure the well, he's behind James Cook and Ty Johnson is the pass protector. But as I've discussed, I think we talked about it yesterday. As I discussed, that actually gives him 2 paths of contingent value. Ty Johnson got right, and we've seen it. It's proven fact. When Ty Johnson goes down, Ray Davis becomes the passing down back while also spelling James Cook in the run game. When James Cook goes down, Ty Johnson's role doesn't really expand. Ray Davis steps in to that role. So he has this dual contingent value, and he's in the last round pick. What other guy in the last round on the best running team in football has that level of upside? I don't see him. So, yeah. Anyway, fun conversation. Those are my favorite things to get into. And I'm not going to have like 50% Ray Davis. I think he's just a very good click, and he's a very good football player on a very good offense with double contingent value. Be back tomorrow. Haven't decided what we're going to draft tomorrow, but if you guys can hit the thumbs up again, of course, all that fun stuff, thumbs up, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. I'll see you guys in the Discord later today, talking probably some NBA, but also, of course, if you have your MLB drafts, if you're doing some big boards, we want to talk about more Ray Davis or Ryan Flanoy. There's a link to the Discord in the description, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, 11 a.m. Eastern here at Spike Week. Have a great Thursday. Have a great NBA trade deadline. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.